Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome to the next episode of Hannah Talk Spirituality, where I talk about my different experiences in life and how I understand them and how I go through them, how I challenge them, how I overcome them, and what they mean to me in my spiritual journey, how they like to call it. And today, I thought I talk a little bit about children and childhood and parents and parenting, because this was something that I myself and also with my friends, we were discussing about different things that happen to parents and to children. So one of the things is that we are always children, and the more I grow up, and the fact that I had my own child reminds me of that I am a child as well. And I think it helps me understand my parents. I often, when I was younger, and even now sometimes, when I argue with them, or when we have different of opinions, or when I think that they are being quite condescending towards me, or they are mansplaining. This is the word that I like. I've learned it. No, I knew this word before, but I just started using it because it happens a lot to me, I guess. The mansplaining. So explaining something that is obvious. That's what my dad sometimes does. I think he doesn't realize, maybe, or I don't really know. And this aggravates me a lot. I think, maybe I am mistaken, but I think that men tend to do that a lot more than women, some women as well. But just, yes, explaining obvious things and really talking about something as if you or I was in the position of being someone not as knowledgeable, or understanding or not understanding something that they are really trying to explain to you. So in this position, which from the beginning is not really equal, if you want, so the position parent-child is never kind of designed to be equal. So there is one part which is the parent, who is supposed to have this guardian, right? The parent, a guardian, someone who is stronger, someone who is supportive, someone who is explaining the world, and this is the parent. And as a parent, I think in a way we never come out of this role. This is the role that we are put in the beginning with no preparation. There is not really much of a school for parents, and there are obviously a lot of books and things like that, but hands-on, it's really difficult. I don't really want to use this word. It's just in a way, it's you do things intuitively, and you do things how you observed how your parents were doing it, or you try to do the things totally different to how your parents were doing things, because you feel that the way they were doing, or the way they were bringing up you, or the way they were bringing up me, was not the correct way, or didn't come out right way. So then what you are doing is different, or you try to behave differently. And also to this as well, I think the times we are living in, and also the country we are living in, maybe you moved, maybe there were different things happening, and the economic development was different to where we are now. So obviously all those things matter as well, of where you are and how things are looking at the moment. So all of these things influence us, and many of my friends, and also when you look on online, those relationships might be different, because in some parts of the world times are maybe easier, maybe let's say more advanced. I don't know much about other parts of the world, like maybe Asia or somewhere like that, but I know that where I come from, or even where I am now, the approach to children has changed, and we have, for example, more rights, right? The children are able to speak up more. That's really kind of obvious. Sorry if I am doing mansplaining now, but I hope I'm not. So the kids, they have more voice. They can speak up. They feel like maybe they are more advanced because the access to knowledge is different. They have access to knowledge through social media. They may be more open to the world. So I don't want to explain all the kind of social economic. It's more about if I go into the kind of spiritual side. The one thing I can say is that I can see in most of the children's eyes that they have the spirit. They are in touch with their spirit, obviously subconsciously and not even thinking about this. They are much closer to when you grow up, when you are an adult. And it's very similar with animals, although they are on a kind of different level. Obviously, developmentally as a being, right, coming to this earth, they cannot express themselves and so on and so forth, but in terms of being close to their spirit, in terms of kind of living with the energy and being kind of outside of 3D and seeing things differently, which they cannot express. This, I guess, this is kind of they have in common, to having access to the different levels of existence, almost different levels of energy. And very often you can see this at kids. They very often, I feel, when kids look at me, they see my soul, they see my higher self, they see me as a being of, first of all, obviously they are very curious, but second of all, they see through me and they see levels of the parts of me that adults cannot see, because we've been through the education system and we've been through hardness in life and hardship in life. So we put a lot of borders between us and the world, and we look at people through our different biases that we want it or not, a kind of, we've been equipped with those, because living in the 3D for longer and longer and longer hardens us up, and that's it. When the children just come from outside realm, and when they are fresh souls, even if they had many lives behind them, they are still fresh here, so they didn't have this time to kind of harden them up. And this is what I believe, and this is really beautiful. And I think I already said that in my previous podcast. But then for us as a parent, so if you are not a parent, then it's kind of maybe something to prepare you, but you might be an animal parent as well, and it kind of comes with this responsibility, and it comes with this trying to navigate with the different boundaries, taking care of someone and understanding this someone while having kind of upper hand, really, because that's what you have, and giving this being freedom, I believe, while also having some boundaries and kind of teaching them what's right, what's wrong. Although with what's right, what's wrong, I believe that kids, they do understand and they take it, is like an intuition. I believe that with you don't have to show them that much, and let's say not sharing toys or something like that, is just, it could be just character, and it could be just sometimes it's fear, sometimes is other things, but it's not done through being mean. That's what I mean. This is not done by someone, but being kind of very possessive. It does not come out of nowhere. What I've been looking at is yes, when the children are small and they are kind of in their, I don't know, maybe 7 or 11 or 12, this coming out of being a toddler, or just becoming a teenager. Also, it's the time for them when they are trying out those boundaries. I mean, they try those boundaries way before that then, but trying those boundaries out, and they're trying the parents and everything that we've learned about ourselves, about our how we come to the challenges and things like this. Everything is being trialed then. I believe that what it means to be spiritual, and by being spiritual I mean I guess just looking at things from the perspective of freedom and movement and energy, and believing that the child has got connection with this other world as well, and in that still installing this rules and guidelines within your child of how to operate in 3D system. And I know how hard it is for child to experience this hardening, so experience the human body, which comes more and more into form really, and the form is not a physical form, it's almost as if it's happening in their minds, that the soul hardens almost. The 3D is like calcifying, and how we can help of for them to, for this process to be not as maybe difficult, or maybe try and help them to navigate through that while still enhancing this intuition, and helping them to navigate this with kind of really open eyes and curiosity, while also ourselves, when we overcome our fears. And it's what's very often happens, and this is the kind of touch point, and the part that we are having, this is the same part between us and our children, that we then ourselves go through to our childhood, and kind of relieve maybe our traumas on, or relieve and see in a real life how we were behaving, and we thought that we have it all done, that we have it dealt with, and now it's happening in front of our eyes. And it might be for us to see, first of all, how we behave again with this, which is not us, but is almost as if it was part of us, taken off and relieved again. And I didn't really pass this exam very well. I wasn't really, I wasn't that great. But also I could then go back and maybe see how my parents might have seen me when I was behaving the way my daughter was behaving, which was triggering me so much, so much. And there is kind of a bit of a guilt when I kind of think about it. But what was really good, I think, in the situation that we have, the challenging situation, the situation when there was a conflict, was about me going back to that. And for example, one of the things was apologized, and also talk to her, and also get to know her more, and get to know her behaviors and her challenges that she's coming with, and her own personal traumas. Because let's be honest, all of our childhoods, we always, all of us, everyone, each and everyone will have some sort of childhood trauma, and it might not come up for a long time, it might not come up easily, it might not come up often, but it probably will at some point in your life. And there isn't one of us who does not have this kind of sort of trauma, and it might only come up in you when there is some other things, maybe some events that are hurtful or not really very happy events that come, and in those, this kind of childhood, or it might come up simply through your children, and you'd be very surprised because you kind of see yourself and you react very much maybe how your parent would react, and that really surprised me. But what I mean is that the spiritual part is always be empathic, it's always be loving, which sometimes is hard, I guess, but this this love, the feeling of love, the feeling of embrace, and the feeling of closeness is obviously underlying always our connections. And this is the spirituality, which some might think, oh, I'm not spiritual, it's nothing to do with me and loving their kids so much and kind of making their life and kind of develop them. This is the connection with children and how we're bringing them up, and our connection with them. Is really, this is part of spirituality. The fact what I was talking about in my last podcast was about the fact that children are choosing us, and they know exactly who they want to come to. They choose their own mom, they choose their own family, their dad, their location, they choose and see whatever happens in their life, and this is like a lesson. And we as a parents, and obviously it goes into cycles on and on and on again, if we are born again, if we choose to be born again, and apparently souls are really queuing to come to earth, because earth is going through so much development and so many life lessons. So if you just concentrate on this last one argument that you have with your child, is like a chain, is like a one part of a big chain, and is like a one part of your and the child lessons, and the connection between your childhood and your young self and the future, right? How this child is going to remember you, how this child is then going to grow up, and how this child is then going to pass it on their own children. So you are, through that, you are creating the chain of development, and kind of seeding the seeds in your child of different sort of behaviors. And as we know, how we are as a children influences so much of how we are as adults, that each and every one of those interactions, smaller or bigger or really huge or really tiny, it matters. Every time you look at your child, you speak to your child, how do you speak to your child? It does matter. And out of all of those interactions, your child is built. And I obviously don't come with every interaction with my child with such an awareness, but I speak to her about this, maybe not in this exact words, but I speak to her about this. I look at her as the continuation, as the past and future of myself, of the family, and and looking at it like this, it kind of puts things into perspective, and then she becomes being that is equal to me. And that's how that's the main thing, to treat the children as equal, as worthy as us, and not as someone lesser. I guess that's what I want to say. But not, it does not obviously means, and again, I don't want to explain something that is should be like obvious. It does not mean that children do whatever they want in the house, or they behave whatever that however they like adults, go to sleep late, or it's not about that. It's about listening to them. It's about listening, not really to understand, but also to listen, to be there and to listen. It's super interesting what they say and how they say it and what they observe. So as much and as we explain our words, so our 3D words, the words that we learned by living and being here on this earth for a long time, let them explain their word, because it's super interesting, because they come to this world with still open eyes from the place they came from, which was obviously outer worlds, which was the pure spirit, which was the spirit in between the lives, or wherever they were. Coming here, obviously they had to lose these memories, but I believe some kids, they do keep the memories. And the fact that they don't speak for first year or 2 years, I wonder if it's not because they are not supposed to tell us what they remember. That would really kind of shake up our 3D world. And obviously I know that their brains and everything is not developed to speak and so on and this and that, but so I am kind of thinking loud, because I can feel that children, and I can see this in they look, how they look at things, how they if you let the children really speak, you will find out some really, really good things. And obviously is their imagination. Everyone says, is a saying, children's imagination or kids' imagination. Why do we lose this imagination? Why do we lose the children outlook and children imagination if it's so creative, if it makes things out of nothing? We lose it because we start to look at the things in a proper way, meaning a way that the education let us or teaches us how to look, with logics and with things that this is possible and this is not possible. This is how things work and this is how they're not gonna work. Are they? So yes, and then in all of that come boundaries, right? Come being rebellious and different ways of relationship. So for example, it will be different when it's single mom, and it will be different when it's parents, but their parents maybe don't get along, or maybe it's a loving family, but maybe it's a family that mom and dad kind of create this oneness, and then children are on the side. Or there are so many different setups, and in all of this there is child, and the child is a separate entity, and is a separate highly spiritual entity that is learning to be here on this earth, and is learning by different things, by copying, by depending obviously on the child. You can cope, observe, being taught. All of those things are on us, are on parents. And then also you as a child, how you grow up and your relationship now to the parents, it might stay this way. So they might still be your advisors, they might still be someone that you go to and talk to, or they might be someone that you are kind of trying to be on the same level, but they won't allow you to. Almost, they always treat you like a child. I believe it's because they got used to this setup, they got used to this thing that you are always a child and you are always someone that I kind of help and build and teach. And then at some point you reached, I don't know, 30 years old, 20, 30, 40 years old, but it's still, the setup is so strong that it is difficult to come out of this setup and stand next to you as two adults. Is never going to really happen like that. Obviously, especially if there is some sort of codependency, financial codependency or other. This was something that we also discussed with some of my friends. The financial codependency that is quite common, and then leaves the parent is in kind of like a parental role and coming to you and maybe thinking that they have a say in some of your life choices or others. And I think that as hard as it is, kind of understanding that this is the setup, this is kind of something that they know how to operate in, and it's kind of it's hard to come out of this. And even myself being so aware and spiritual and this and that, and my daughter would sometimes say to me, I am not a child anymore, stop treating me like a child. And I'm really trying to, but from me and also as a mom perspective is I worry about my child. And I was saying to her, it's so difficult to come out of this role, to kind of snap out of this role. And I guess it's even more difficult for moms because we have this almost body connection. If there was someone in my body for 9 months, and if this someone grew in me, it's difficult to cut it. But also, while I'm saying this, I must remember that is the same with my mom, which for me is hard to understand. It's kind of hard to between my mom and my mom and me and my daughter. The relationships are totally different. And again, this is about what I was saying in the beginning, because of the social economical kind of times, but also we're just different people. We have different type of emotional I guess the emotional level of emotions. We are on different ones, definitely different. So these relationships will be different, but it's just something to bear in mind. And I'm not expecting everyone to be so wise and be like always understanding their parents and always kind of knowing where they come from, but getting this kind of approach, it might help maybe even after the argument to kind of come into the agreement and into the apologizing if possible, and look kind of the same into your siblings and how they operate. It's really when you go into that and see that the whole world is based on the relationship that we had with our parents and what kind of childhood we had. Even if you're going into, things that people do in a political arena and all the things that's happening, you go back into this little boy childhood and how he was or she was brought up, and kind of it makes you think, if it was different and if they were born to a different family, how would the world be? So what we can do as parents is, I think, guard the emotional intelligence, the fantasy, the creativity, the freedom of the children, while also, of course, remembering that they feel safe when they have those boundaries, when they have those safe rules, right, that are kind of in your home, and there is a respect. It does not mean that there should not be respect. The respect, I think, is always very, very useful. It's the respect of it is a respect of a mentor. So mentor, mentee, coach, coachee relationship, if you want to. So if you have this role with your child, which you do, you want this trust to be there, and with the trust comes also respect, and just knowing other boundaries. But it's the same, you respect some other people or your children's boundaries, and they respect your boundaries, and also look at you as a parent, and not overstep those boundaries also, but also making your child understand that you are a human as well. So you make mistakes, you apologize for your mistakes. There are days that you are really weak, and there are things that you do that are not right, but you can look back at them and either correct them or apologize for them, and really look for the solutions of how they could be done better, and admit that you have done something that wasn't great. All of those things, we think that we are adults, and we think that it's best not to admit to some things we have done. And also, obviously, I am talking about those things and your own kind of judgment of how much to open up to children and how much to say, because the nervous system of a small person is not as developed. So obviously this is the judgment. So dangerous things and things that are not great to talk about, then obviously you don't talk about. But as your humanity, and showing yourself as vulnerable, and showing yourself as prone to mistakes as well, it is definitely good for child development. But is the honesty, is the authenticity, that as much as you can show that, the more respect there's going to be, and the more the child then will be able to also open up to you. There is also the thing about compensating. When we go and compensate for things to our children, usually it's compensation for us not being around, for us being busy with some other things, and the compensation might be in form of objects, right? Objects, money, and so on and so forth, and kind of busyness of making sure that the child does well in life. This is kind of common thing as well to do now, and I remove all the judgment from that. Is about being authentic, and is about showing yourself as vulnerable, as talking to your child, and being curious about child's ideas, because yes, looking into the child eyes, you can see the universe, and developing yourself as a human and spirituality, into spirituality, shows your child as well this options, this opportunity. And then just one thing to mention just for the end. I don't remember if it was, I was looking into something and I was reading something about people who gain success and fame and money, and then they wake up one day and there is still like a big black hole, or there is nothingness in them. There is no goal, or there is just nothing there. And this is not going to happen. There is nothing, I think, because, or I believe, because they didn't find, or they repressed, or they disagreed, or they closed the spiritual side. And if something is missing, this is the spiritual side. And this, I'm saying spiritual, but you can call it whatever you like, God, faith, that there is something else after dying, anything out of those things. This is, I believe, the point that is missing, the missing point when you wake up and you feel like there is nothing else. This is the missing point, the spirituality. And as soon as we open children to that and then let them explore with the open heart, obviously, and the more self-aware they are, and the more self-love they feel, obviously the less they will be prone to come into some sort of, I don't know, not pretty side of leadership or something like that. What I mean by that is there are different groups who kind of prey on this, on the vulnerable people who are maybe don't feel love or who are searching. So there's a lot of groups that use that for their advantage and can do a lot of harm. So I believe if the person is really aware, if the person has got a level of self-belief, and also obviously if the person has got people that they trust, so like family members, or can find people that they trust, the less possible it is for this person to kind of go into and find themselves in sort of dangerous situation because they were looking for spirituality. And there is, I guess, in the world there is a lot of spiritual groups that are really dangerous, but there is also a lot of people who fall prey for those dangerous spiritual movements, or whatever you want to call them, because they are searching, and because the offering that those groups are giving might be very appealing, right? They are trying to find, I guess, the love, the goal, the aim, and something that is out there, that is something more than money, more than, I don't know, relationships that didn't work. There's something that gives their life more meaning and brings them also in the kind of community of people who maybe think the same. So your own intuition, your own your love for yourself, your love for other people, your love for nature, I would say, your moments of stillness that you can also share with your child. It's not it's nothing to be ashamed of, to sit down in stillness. And I'm sure kids love it. We fill our children's life with so much noise, and we don't let them just sit. It's like, oh, you don't do something means that you are bored. And I don't even want to go and name it as a meditation. It's just, yes, sit and do nothing, if you want to call it that. It's not doing nothing. Is being aware of your thoughts, is being aware of your body, is being aware of the smell around you, is sitting with yourself, and maybe listen to your thoughts, or maybe letting your thoughts just go by and being next to your thoughts. And I believe the sooner you learn this, the more excellent you become in it. Meditation should definitely be taught in schools. And with these beautiful statements, which I hope one day come up in schools, I will close this podcast today, wishing you all the best. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.